Unfortunately, boat refrigerators aren't frost-free. And since we tend to cruise in hot, humid places, we have to defrost them fairly often. Just the other day, I was doing a VHF seminar on storing food, and one of the questions I got was how to defrost the fridge without it taking all day. Hi, I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley Podcast, I'll tell you how I defrost my fridge in just half an hour to 45 minutes. First, today's episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Sail Dauntless, your personalized sailing adventure in the most beautiful locations. Experience the utmost in luxury cruising just the way you want it. Get back into the sailing groove on board this beautiful 52-foot sailboat where every detail is taken care of for you. They're now booking in Italy and Croatia for summer of 2021. Now use coupon SD15 for 15% off any 7-night all-inclusive sailing charter in the Mediterranean from July to September of 2021. Get all the info on their website. That's Sail Dauntless, SailDauntLess.com, and let their experience inspire yours. One key to keeping your boat refrigerator running efficiently is to defrost whenever there's a 1/4 inch of frost buildup. Now in the Sea of Cortez, which is surrounded by desert, I had to defrost about once a month. Now, in the extremely humid southern Florida, it's about once every 10 days. Now this doesn't have to be a huge chore. With a few little tools, I could defrost the large refrigerator on a previous boat in about 35 minutes. Now it takes a little bit longer, about 45 minutes on our current boat, because the refrigerator manufacturer is recommending not using a hairdryer. That was my trick on the previous boat, because it could warp some plastic parts inside the refrigerator. So even though the total time is longer, I'm not actually working on it the whole time. In this age of frost-free refrigerators, many of us have never manually defrosted a refrigerator, or only have dim memories of Mom doing it when we were a kid. It took me a while to learn how to quickly defrost the refrigerator, so I didn't dread having to do it. Now it helps if all your food is already in bins, and if you're in a hot climate, you have to work fast so that the food won't spoil. But here's my method. Okay, put your most perishable foods, that's like the frozen foods, your milk, in the best coolers that you have. I like the soft-sided coolers on the boat because they're easy to store. If the items are already frozen, they'll stay that way for a couple of hours, even without extra ice, if you've got a good cooler. Then, take all your bins out of the refrigerator. Quickly check to see if any need cleaning out, either from spills or spoiled food, and take care of it now. Cover the bins with quilts, towels, pillows, sweatshirts, or whatever else you have to insulate the contents. Next, turn off the refrigerator and remove any dividers that might be inside. If there's a drain in the bottom, open it. If you can, use a hairdryer to melt the ice buildup. Be careful to not actually get the hairdryer in any water due to the electrocution risk. Many times the hairdryer will cut off before all the ice is melted. This is a safety feature to keep it from getting too hot. Turn it off for a few minutes and let it cool off. Then use it again. Now if you're not using a hairdryer, which is what I can't do anymore, my choice now is to use a reusable hot pack in the freezer section. I put one in, and then as it cools down, I replace it with another. 4 about perfectly do it. Now there's links in the show notes to these quick heat pads. They're wonderful. We use them for pulled muscles and aching backs, things like that. But they also work really well for the defrosting. One thing if you're doing something like this, or if you're using even boiling water, is close the door or lid to keep all of that heat in the freezer. That really helps. If the freezer compartment is metal, not plastic, you can alternately put a pan of boiling water in it to speed up the defrosting. And if you have nothing else, it can help to point a fan at the inside of the refrigerator or freezer. Basically, you're trying to move the cold air out and move hot air in, sort of the opposite of what you're doing the rest of the time. After about 5 minutes, I'll start checking to see if I can break some ice off. Typically, every time that I change the heat pack, or if I'm using boiling water, every time that I change the hot water, I take out those chunks of ice and I dump them in the sink. It's much easier to dry out the refrigerator if you don't let them melt in the bottom of the refrigerator, and it also keeps them from continuing to chill the refrigerator, makes the defrosting go faster. Now be very, very careful around the chill plate or freezer compartment not to puncture a tube. But you can use like a spatula or a piece of dowel or a very dull knife, like a butter knife, to gently poke ice out of the hard-to-reach places. Never use force. You're likely to break something then, and then you'll be without a refrigerator. You absolutely do not want to put a hole in one of those tubes. When all else fails, you can pour hot water over a stubborn bit of ice, but this will create a lot more work to mop it all out of the bottom of the refrigerator if you don't have a drain. Okay, next, totally dry out the refrigerator, close the drain, and replace any dividers you have. Take 2 seconds to do one extra step that's going to save you a bunch of work and time next time. Spray the cool spray with cooking spray like Pam before you put food back in. When you next defrost, the ice will come off much more easily and in big chunks. This has made it much more easy for me and ensures that the frozen food doesn't stick to the compartment walls either. Obviously, the next thing you're going to do is put the food back in the refrigerator, and don't forget to turn it back on. I hope this has helped you learn how to quickly defrost a boat refrigerator so it's not nearly such a dreaded chore. I will do it when I need to, literally right as I'm making breakfast, and basically by the time I've got breakfast made, it's usually defrosted. Once in a while it takes a little bit of time into what I'm eating, and by the time I finish eating, I'm finishing up the defrosting. If you enjoyed this information, be sure to give us a good review. If you have other questions, send us an email. Take care till next time.